Welcome back to Screen Crush, I'm Ryan Airy. Darth Vader is the best Star Wars villain. He's the most interesting character in the saga, and he's one of the most iconic villains in history. He has transcended the medium, becoming a cultural icon. So it wasn't a surprise that when Disney bought the rights to Star Wars, the House of Mouse was going to capitalize on their most profitable character. Now there's a lot to say about Disney's handling of Star Wars. There's plenty of criticism out there.
Like a panther. Yes.
But somehow, despite mishandling some of the most beloved Star Wars characters, LucasFilm is able to figure out Darth Vader perfectly. Every time Vader appears on screen, he is done right. And I will be so bold as to say that Disney is giving us some of the best Darth Vader stuff ever. And the third episode of Obi-Wan Kenobi is a testament to how great Vader has been in the Disney era.
Now you will suffer, Obi-Wan.
The episode starts with Vader, but before we see the dark metallic monster, we witness what's left of Anakin Skywalker. And it ain't a pretty sight. The Vader suit-up sequence is more than just to show us how he looks under the suit. It's a visual representation of what Anakin has become. The suit then assembles around him, almost like a shell of darkness. The suit's function is to keep him alive, but Vader embraced its symbolic power. The suit represents the embodiment of fear in the galaxy. The mere vision of this imposing figure is terrifying. That's something I love about the new Vader stories under Disney. Vader understands the power of fear, and he weaponizes it, kind of like Batman.
Fear is a tool.
When Vader walks into that town in episode 3, he's like a horror movie monster. Even before he appears, we see how Vader's presence hits Obi-Wan. It's like a punch, a force punch.
That's not how the Force works.
Vader is a rumbling in the Force. He is unnatural, so evil and powerful that his mere presence is too hard to bear. And then he arrives. The camera slowly tilts up to reveal the Dark Lord of the Sith, darker than the night sky.
Oh my God! Okay, it's happening. Everybody stay calm.
What's the procedure, everyone? What's the procedure?
Stay calm!
No one can talk. No one can breathe. People can barely move. They are frozen in place, watching the most terrifying thing in the galaxy. And then Vader begins killing people, force choking, ruthlessly breaking necks. He's slaughtering people left and right because to him, none of them matter. Their deaths only prove a point. Vader kills them to draw out Obi-Wan from hiding.
What have you become?
I am what you made me.
Now before their duel, Vader stalks Obi-Wan like he's his prey. Vader toys with his former master. He lets him run, attempt to hide, cower like a coward, all the while Vader feeds his fear. He doesn't want to kill Obi-Wan quickly. He wants to make him suffer and pay for what he did to him. And when they finally clash, it's not even a fair fight. Obi-Wan is so lost in the Force, so filled with guilt and fear, that he can barely defend himself against the power of Darth Vader. Vader relishes in the fear and pain that he causes. He has embraced the dark side fully. Now this sequence perfectly represents why the Disney-era Darth Vader works so well. There is no good in him, no remorse. There's only hate, the need for power, and covering the galaxy with fear and darkness.
He's more machine now than man, twisted and evil.
Vader is cruel and evil, and up until Return of the Jedi, that's how Vader must remain. Disney totally got this right with every one of their Darth Vader stories so far. For most viewers, this was probably one of the first times they've seen this version of Vader, because not everybody watches the animated shows or reads the comics or plays video games. So, for those fans who experience mostly only the movies and the live-action shows, this is only the second time they've seen Darth Vader in his full glory under the Disney umbrella, and the first was Rogue One. Like the Obi-Wan Kenobi show, Rogue One also played into the terrifying nature of Darth Vader. That hallway scene is cemented in history as one of the coolest and most terrifying Darth Vader moments ever. It is so perfect to see Vader carve his way through helpless rebel soldiers who brought blasters to a lightsaber fight.
Brings a knife to a gunfight.
It was at this moment that he knew. He fucked up.
Now what I love about this hallway scene, other than the fact it's absolutely fucking amazing, is Vader's haste. This isn't like in Obi-Wan where Vader puts on a horrific show, taking his time to cause pain. Here, Vader needs to shred through the rebels as fast as possible to get back the stolen Death Star plans. This is the first time in any Star Wars movie that we see the true power and horror of a Force wielder against regular people.
You don't know the power of the dark side.
None of these soldiers is a threat to him. They may rain blaster fire on him, but it's hopeless. Vader cuts them all down with savagery, and this is a perfect representation of the Sith Lord's power. But this isn't the only Vader scene in Rogue One. There's also Vader's meeting with Krennic, which showcases Vader's menacing presence without the need for any lightsaber swings or force choking. The moment Vader enters the scene, the power dynamics are clear. There's some really good visual storytelling as Vader's shadow towers over Krennic. Now, while Krennic holds a top position in the Empire, he's utterly petrified in Vader's presence.
Make certain that he understands its remarkable potential.
Vader and Krennic might be on the same side. They both serve the Empire, but they are not equals. One is clearly far above the other. We have seen Vader terrifying and even killing his officers in the past, but one of the reasons this scene works so well is the subtext. Krennic is desperately trying to gain power in this movie. He creates manufactured superweapons with the Death Star in the hopes that it will elevate him, only to then face Vader and learn what true power really is.
Be careful not to choke on your aspirations, Director.
But Obi-Wan Kenobi and Rogue One are not the only stories where Vader was incredible. There is also Rebels that did a lot of justice for Vader, and it's the first canon story that brought Vader back to the screen. At the time, the animated show provided us with some of the coolest Vader moments we'd ever seen. Once again, Vader is presented in a very terrifying way in the animated show. Rebels was a continuation of Vader's story from the Clone Wars, where Ahsoka Tano was introduced as Anakin's apprentice, and also one of the best Star Wars characters ever. With Ahsoka appearing in Season 2 of Rebels, that created a great story for her and Vader, as Ahsoka learned about what happened to her master and the evil monster that he transformed into. Also, Rebels includes some of my favorite Darth Vader quotes.
I don't fear you.
Then you will die braver than most.
There's also games like Fallen Order and the comics. With every story, Vader became more scary, more powerful, and more defined as a character. The Disney era Vader works so well thanks to everything that came before. They build upon Darth Vader's myth, expanding and improving on his character and stories. Darth Vader is something that Lucasfilm has been doing really well on a consistent basis. The only thing they are getting right, am I right? Nah, I mean, they get a lot of things right. I mean, a lot of things wrong too.
Somehow Palpatine returned.
What?
At least we are getting some good Star Wars stories, that's what's important. But it's more than just giving fans badass and scary Darth Vader stories. I mean, that's actually the easy part. The reason why this works so well are because of how Vader is presented. He's an unstoppable force of nature, a juggernaut that mercilessly cuts through anyone who stands in his way. He's a terrifying 7-foot embodiment of evil encased in black armor, lit by a bloody crimson blade. Darth Vader is a walking nightmare. And he's scary not only because people say he's scary, but because we see what a hellish monster he really is. This works for only one reason, because Disney is not undermining Vader's character from the original trilogy. It would have been so easy to retcon his arc, break the continuity, and attempt to present Vader in a more anti-heroic light. Make him less of a despicable murderer. Give us a watered-down version of the iconic villain just so it'd be easier to make more consumer-friendly Vader stories. After all, it's very hard to root for the guy who kills children. This is the main problem so many fans had with Disney's Boba Fett.
Like a bantha. Yes?
But luckily, Disney has a lot of restraint with Darth Vader. They fully embraced his evil nature, turning him into the perfect space boogeyman. There are no attempts to make Vader into a more sympathetic villain, someone who's conflicted and tortured by the horrible things he's doing. He shouldn't be having any remorse. There cannot be any redeeming qualities in Vader, not in the era between the prequels and the original trilogy. He is evil, and he thinks that all the bad things he's doing are justified. This is the reason why I don't think a Vader spin-off would work that well. There are great Vader stories in the comics where he's the title character, but I think that with the nature of storytelling, a full-blown evil character won't work as the main character of a show. I think Vader works best in smaller doses, same as monsters in horror movies. Vader is lost. He dedicated his life to hatred and power. He lost everything: Padme, his unborn children, his body. But he doesn't take responsibility for his role in the downfall of Anakin. Instead, he blames it on Obi-Wan.
You turned her against me!
You have done that yourself.
What have you become?
I am what you made me.
This hatred fuels him. It fuels him for 2 decades. He takes it out on all the Jedi he hunts and slaughters. With every kill, he kills a piece of his past, killing the remnants of Anakin Skywalker.
Anakin Skywalker was weak. I destroyed him.
When Vader learns that his son is still alive, the light side is not awakened in him. He has no plans to free the galaxy from the Empire's leash. The discovery that Luke is his son only shows us how evil Vader is. He wants to turn Luke to the dark side. He wants to do to Luke what Sidious did to him.
Join me, and together, we can rule the galaxy as father and son.
His wish is for his own son to be just like him, evil and twisted. And Disney played into that very well. At no point did Disney attempt to undermine the impact of Vader's most crucial moment in the original trilogy, and that's the moment where Vader saves his son from the Emperor. Vader's turn in Return of the Jedi is subtle. It's done gradually. Everything Luke does in that movie slowly wakes Anakin up.
It is the name of your true self you've only forgotten. I know there is good in you. The Emperor hasn't driven it from you fully.
Luke almost loses control. His anger almost rules him and turns him to the dark, the same rage that destroyed Anakin. But unlike his father, Luke refuses to turn to the dark, refuses to kill his own father, and stands up against the Emperor the way Anakin never could. So when Sidious begins to torture Luke, killing him with his dark energy, Vader sees Luke suffering. He sees his son pleading for his help to save him. Part of him must remember Padme, his mother, even Obi-Wan. The Emperor is about to kill his son, and that is when Vader snaps.
And Anakin then in that moment has to decide to be the father that he's never had. He has to give up all the power in the galaxy and save his son.
This is why Vader turns to the light and achieves redemption. He does it to save his son. So, Vader fell to the dark side because of his connection to his loved ones, but it's that same connection that brought him back to the light. The third episode of Obi-Wan Kenobi is an impressive testament to how Disney is able to continue improving on Darth Vader's character. More often than not, legacy characters are ruined by retcons and uneven writing. But Vader continues being one of the greatest things in Star Wars. The Disney-era Darth Vader is the ultimate culmination of 45 years of story. The movies, the shows, the novels, the comics, and the video games all expand on this story, improving and enriching the character of Darth Vader.
Impressive. Most impressive.
But what do you think about Disney-era Darth Vader? What's your favorite Vader moments? Let me know in the comments below or at me on Twitter. And if it's your first time here, please subscribe and smash that bell. For Screen Crush, I'm Ryan Airy.